about legal English in a 1 hour session that we try to make be a little bit of fun. Um, I see a lot of names here that look pretty familiar, but I also see some new names. So welcome to everyone that hasn't been here before, and welcome back to everyone that has been coming to these for the last few months. I don't know how long it's been, but we've been doing this for a while. Welcome. Uh, we are talking about social media for lawyers today, and I think this is a pretty interesting kind of subject because we all use it. Uh, Actually, well, wait. Let me get through the beginning first, and then we'll get into that. A little bit about me. If, like I said, if you've been here before, you know who I am. I've been a practicing American lawyer for 15 years. I've been teaching legal English to lawyers from around the world for a few years now too. I've worked in all kinds of law firms, from big corporate law firms to small personal injury. I've done a lot of things in the law because I've also done a lot of consulting. So I'm here to help. If you have questions, feel free to ask. We don't have a large, really big crew here today. So if you want to just speak, feel free. If you want to shoot something in the chat window, that works too. It's a good way to communicate, that chat window. Let's see here. Excuse me. If you haven't already, please do send me your name, email address, and law firm via that chat window. And please do check out our website. That's at legalwriting.eu. This is what it looks like right now, and we've got a lot of really great stuff about the courses we offer. A great blog that's entertaining and informative. Heck, you can even go there and review the course you're taking right now and my teaching abilities under the courses section there. And we do welcome those reviews, and I'd really like to get your opinion. So let me have it. Give me your worst. Here's our upcoming schedule. I'll let you take a quick look at that. Some of these might be repeats if you've been here for the last few months, but I think there's a couple new ones. So you may want to mark your calendar, see which ones sound interesting and which ones you can duck out early and have a nice long lunch. All right. And we always start with a quote of the day here, and I usually try to find something that's a little funny and a little witty. I struggled this week finding one about social media that was funny. I don't know, maybe my search terms just weren't grasping it. I got a lot of images from the movie The Social Network, but Sheryl Sandberg is one of I think the CEO of Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that what social media has done to this world in the last 15 years or so has given everyone a voice. Sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. And we as lawyers are generally held to a higher standard. So we have to be careful with our voice when it comes to social media. I'm sure wherever you're located around the world, there will be different rules for what you can say. Here, I'm living in Vietnam, and I know that the government is watching my Facebook. That's why they have WhatsApp, I guess. So I have to be careful. Some places you have to be more careful, others you don't have to be so careful. But that doesn't mean that there won't be consequences for bad use of social media, especially as lawyers. And we're going to go through a bunch of ideas and tips on how to use social media, and try to give you some illustrations on some examples of what has worked well in the past. That's the easiest way to learn this stuff, is to look at what other people do, and you can really tell what works and what doesn't. So yeah, first things first, we need to have a little warning, a caution. And these rules only apply to American lawyers. But I think it's safe to say that a lot of places will have similar things to worry about. We can use social media for all sorts of things, from marketing our law firm to research to the news. It's a great tool. I don't know about you, but I use it every day, multiple times a day, probably hours a day. My girlfriend probably hates how much I'm on social media. But we have to think about what happens if we say something wrong, something that could get us in trouble. Uh, this has happened in the US. People have faced bar discipline or sanctions or disbarment. Um, I don't have much experience with bar associations around the world, but I can say that in the US, they're not necessarily the most fun people to deal with. They're typically quite strict. They have their rules. Uh, a couple of years ago, the American Bar Association came out with a formal opinion, which sounds very fancy, I know. Uh, and it basically said that social media and blogs uh, require confidential treatment under the rules. Um, so much so that a lawyer took a client's case and redacted the names and addresses and all of the information uh, that you could identify the person with. And according to the ABA, if it's reasonably likely that that third party could be identified, you're still in trouble. A lawyer from Chicago actually got suspended for 60 days for doing exactly that. A couple others real quick. You can have conflicts of interest based on social media. Now, when it comes to things like Facebook friends, I think if you were some acquaintance of someone that might be involved in your case, it could create problems. Something to consider. If someone on your friend list happened to be on a jury that you were involved with, I think you would have to either kick that juror or withdraw from that trial. So you have to always think about conflicts of interest, and social media feels like a safe zone because we never actually meet people. We can communicate without actually communicating. So we just have to be careful about that. Like I said, this is American rules, not anywhere else. Pay attention to your own rules. And especially American is the idea of advertising to be a lawyer. It's absolutely one of the most disgusting things about being an American lawyer is watching the advertisements on TV and on billboards and everywhere. These ads drive me crazy. There are a lot of rules about it, but we have to weigh every post that we make on social media and consider whether or not the reasonable man could consider that an offering of services. If so, it's advertising and special rules apply. I know. Let's see here. Lawyers need to avoid social media comments that could indicate an attorney-client relationship. I think a lot of people reach out to us as lawyers and ask us for legal advice. Friends on Facebook might ask in a messenger or something, what do I do? As long as it's not public, that's okay. But if that goes public in any way, then you could have problems. Same thing with things like jury research. These are kind of strange rules, but we can use social media to research jurors or opposing counsel or even parties. And I've done this. I know I probably shouldn't have, but I friended a defendant in a very big mass tort litigation in the United States. But as a rule in America, now you shouldn't do that. And clients too, for that matter. And I know most of you work primarily in the corporate field, and your clients wear suits more than not. But when I was a personal injury lawyer, I had all kinds of clients, rich and very poor, and I had one who was going to trial for a driving under the influence, a drunk driving charge, and he swore up and down that he didn't do it. And I told him that he should go and clean out his Facebook and just make himself look like a good person. He didn't do this, and the defense, basically their entire case was to show a photo from the night of the driving under the influence charge and showing him drinking and being quite drunk. It was almost case closed, and he didn't go to jail, but he paid a lot of money. So we have to be careful about telling clients to delete photos or change evidence. That's a whole separate ethical problem. But we have to make sure that they're at least telling us the truth. Uh, I have an interesting comment here that in India, there's no lawyer advertising. And that's the way it is in most of the world. Most of the world I've been to anyway. And to be honest, I prefer it. I think it's just it doesn't look great, and some of the ads are very cheesy. Uh, if somebody reminds me after class, I'll find a video of some of the most comical lawyer advertisements, and it's you won't believe your eyes. I'll leave it at that. You can probably YouTube it yourself. Okay, moving on. Okay, so social media. Um, it changes almost like on a yearly basis, right? Of course, you've got the big boys. You've got Facebook. Uh, I think that's probably the big boy. You got Twitter. Uh, I've never been big on Twitter. I'm more of a Facebook and LinkedIn and a little bit of Instagram kind of guy. I also know that in different countries around the world, there are their own kind of social media platform. I know that in China, for example, they don't allow Facebook, but they have their own version of it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically allows the government to watch. So from as we talk about this over the next 49 minutes, uh, think about what social media do you use? Is there anything that I've never heard of before that you like? Um, I'm not calling things like WhatsApp uh, social media so much. It's just chat. I've never used TikTok. I guess that's the big thing these days. Um, what about you? Is there anything that you use that that I haven't already mentioned? Twitch. Okay, I've heard of Twitch. I've never used it. Ah, yes, Reddit. Okay, I do use Reddit. That's almost as much as Facebook. I love it. It's probably my favorite. Yes, um, but it feels like there's new ones. I mean, they pop up, some stick and some fade away, and I think that's how it will be for for the rest of our lives. I think, um, but I think it's important to think about how each platform is different, how the interactions change, how our connections change. For example, on Reddit, you don't really have those friends or contacts, but it doesn't make it any less communicative. Um, so there's different ways and different ways to say it. With Twitter, it's limited to what is it, 280 characters, 240 or 280? I can't remember. I, I write too much to fit in those boxes, and so I've never really liked it. Um, but we can look back in time. I'm probably the oldest person on this call and the only person that knows what MySpace is or Friendster. But you know, these things, they come and go, and it's just important to realize what they do for us and what they do to us. So Facebook is the biggest, 2.5 billion active users. I don't know what year that came from, or what month that came from. It's probably bigger today than that. Um, Facebook collects a lot of data. This is just the way it is. Um, I'm not a fan of that necessarily, but I've given into it. Um, the good side of that is that it allows us to target our message. If we want to write a blog post or a post about something, and we want to promote our business, for example, we can do that through laser targeted ads. You can send a post that only goes to lawyers working at 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning. And that's nice. Again, there are some downsides to this as well, just kind of personal freedom and invasions of privacy. But you know, it's nice to see some cat videos from time to time. Instagram as well. They have 1 billion active users, and they're great at targeting younger people. And as lawyers, we don't do that so much. We don't typically target that 18 to 34 age group. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. It's a great way to promote your practice as a lawyer or your firm, with videos or clips or images. Uh, Again, you can target directly to that younger age bracket, and that's an asset. And then there's Twitter. Um, like I said, I know what it is. I'm not a great fan of it. I guess it bothers me most of all what's happened uh, with the former American president over the last 4 years in Twitter. Uh, but it's a good way to express yourself if you have some really nice, short, quick thoughts. You don't need to draft a long article on Twitter. You can just spit out a sentence and be good with it. You can also use hashtags to connect to people as you see fit, as creatively or unoriginally as you like. So it makes interaction really easy. And finally, the reason we're all here is LinkedIn. And is everyone here on LinkedIn? I think every lawyer I know is, um, and and I think that that's fair enough. In fact, 93% of legal professionals have a LinkedIn account. Uh, that that's a big number, especially considering how many very old lawyers there are floating around. It's obviously built for professionals, and it's designed to uh, show your experience and your background when it comes to a professional setting. Obviously, this isn't just for lawyers. This is for everyone that works, that's a professional, and it's set up unlike say Facebook, where you can make a contact with anyone uh, just by sending a connection and having them accept. Here, you have to basically you have to do that to your first level of connections, uh, and then you have to get further permission to connect to the third levels, and so on and so on. So that first degree, these are the people who you are already directly connected with. So when they search your email and your Facebook to see your contacts, those are your first degree contacts. Second degree are people that are directly connected to your first degree contacts. With those seconds, you can mail an introduction to them, and if they accept, you can become a first degree contact. The third degree is just another step separated, so it's basic. It looks like a pyramid scheme to me, but that's how it works. And I thought this is a good way to say what LinkedIn does. It's a place to present your career history and goals. You shouldn't just post whatever you want there. It should always be very much focused to your career history and goals. It's all about that connection. And I don't know how many people have worked their friends for endorsements or recommendations. I know I have. I've got a few good ones, but these are ways that it's an expanded CV. It's kind of how I look at my LinkedIn. And by sharing blog posts or articles or your own content, it's a further way to interact and give some background to your CV. Likewise, there's good news there. You can filter through the bad news and see and get the stuff that you're looking for, usually very quickly, which is really another massive benefit to LinkedIn. So there's basically two kinds of posts in LinkedIn. There's a post, and like Twitter, it's limited to 1,300 characters. What does that work out to be? I believe if someone can do a conversion on Google and see how many words that works out to be, it's not typically a long, that's 400 words, maybe more or less. But an article can be much longer. And an article is basically a blog post. It's something where you can write a little bit more in depth. So yeah, if you're writing an article, don't make it too long though. I think we can all think of times when we've been reading any something in social media, and it looks like a novel, a long post for any reason, and we rarely read those all the way to the end. So try to make an article not more than 1,000 words, and maybe even closer to 500. Like I said, long blocks of text intimidate visitors. Sometimes they just want the headline and they don't want the full story. So make sure you're not writing too long. And if you do have something that's too long, you should break it up into parts. Number one, that'll give you more posts. So that's a benefit. And number two, it will be more effective when people are hopefully interacting with it, with you. Excuse me. I've heard this from a bunch of lawyers that they're all on LinkedIn, but they don't think that there's much going on there. And to be fair, I don't go there nearly as much as I go to uh, other social media. I go there when I'm looking for work, or when I'm trying to make more connections for work in the future. But it's not active like Facebook or Reddit. It's it's its changes are a little bit more subtle. Uh, so you go to a colleague's profile and they're not exciting. There's no animations. There's no cat videos. Uh, it's not about what they like to do. It's not, it's not them cooking or traveling. At least it shouldn't be so much. It's hard to really judge a person sometimes from a LinkedIn profile. And it also looks like there's less interactivity. But here's the reality: is that everyone is paying attention. Even if they don't pay attention every day, uh, the majority of lawyers are looking on a regular basis. They are reading the content that's in their network, maybe only their level one network, but still, uh, they prefer LinkedIn over the others. And lawyers really do use LinkedIn as a good news source. Um, it's a good way to research outside counsel as well, and to be honest, even clients, opposing and your own. It's nice to go into a meeting with your own client even, and say that you go to his LinkedIn and you see something that you could talk about. It can be a really good icebreaker if you don't know a person at all. So this slide is a little bit of a trick, because there really isn't a how we write for this platform. There aren't the rules that we have in a letter or an email or a memo. Uh, we can get impact through so many different ways. Uh, it's just the, the world is your ocean, and you are free to do this as you see fit. Now, that doesn't mean that there's good posts and bad posts, but I don't want to limit you at all. So we're going to go through a few tips and tricks and examples now, and I'll try to show you a little bit about the difference between good writing on social media and bad writing on social media. So take a look at this, and I'll give you a minute to read it, and I'll let you make a comment as to whether or not you think that this is a good example of a LinkedIn post. So I'll be quiet for about a minute, and then I'll come back. Oh, okay, I'll come back. One comment is that they would like to see a headline, I think, some kind of like, this is what we're talking about. And I can't argue that. Uh, and you don't care who they're thinking. Okay. Well, I will tell you that there's a really good reason to thank people, or at least to mention them, because when you tag them like this, I say tag them because that's what it's called in Facebook, and I'm not sure what it's called in LinkedIn. If it's different, I'll call it tagging. Uh, um, that expands your reach to their networks as well. So there's a reason. Um, yes, I agree. Maybe a little bit of of a blurb on what the article is all about. Uh, but I think that they link the article right there, and that's a great way to get more people to go to your website. Uh, Networking is always the goal, and if you can get a click to your website, we have to think like a marketer sometime. Uh, but but it helps. It's a good thing to do. It's what we want to do. Importantly here, um, okay, here's another comment: is that the bit about how big and most respected a blog is. I agree. That's a little silly. I'm not many blogs are all that respected. But then again, if I guess if I were on a blog that had the most coverage of any in the country, might brag about that too. One thing, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is a call to action. And every post uh, that you write, or even every article, everything that you write really should have a call to action. And it's what you want the reader to do in response. Um, Here, it's this last sentence where it says, give me your usual constructive feedback. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bit informal. There are a number of ways to do that, but a call to action is the most important thing I can get you to consider adding. It will start the conversation with people that you maybe don't know so well, and that invitation is amazingly important. It's one of those things that uh, if we think about our daily life on the internet, when we open an email to go shopping, or we make we do anything, there are hundreds of these calls to action. Uh, Look at your free trial right now. Boom, it gets you in the door, and then you're hooked. Um, they work. This is how we buy things, and in a lot of ways, this is what we're doing with your articles. Is we're selling your writing. Um, okay, let's see here. What else are we having here? Okay, I think I covered everything. Now let's look at another one. Indeed, a tad difficult to read. So the block of text is a problem. We don't want to read this. This doesn't look like, just looking at it without reading it. It doesn't look like the kind of thing that I want to read. Uh, the run-on sentences, the never-ending commas and clauses, makes this difficult to read. That the previous one had a lot of short sentences, which helps in this kind of writing. It's shorter, the better. We have people skim this stuff so quickly. If we don't get right to the point, they'll never get there. Okay, so I'm taking that away for a second. And did any of you actually read it in this class right now to the end? I don't feel bad at all if no one did, because, and I'll be perfectly honest, I created this class and I haven't finished that thing to the end. I maybe I should insert a whole bunch of words in there, and it's impossible. It's not inviting, and maybe it's an important decision that deserves discussion. But no, I'm not even skimming over that. I might unfollow that person. If so, that's what I'm saying is we want to invite our readers to read it. We don't want to just say our message and then close the door. Okay, so yeah, I think it's funny. I was thinking about this as I was reviewing the PowerPoint just this morning, and I was like, I built this. I've gone through it a dozen times. I've never read that, and I probably should have, but I guess that's the point. All right, few things to do while you're writing for LinkedIn and maybe social media generally. Keep it simple. I'm not calling any of you stupid, but keep it simple. And this is a little bit funny to me because it feels a little illogical. But text-only posts without a video or a photo or something is these are the most effective posts. I don't know anything about the study, but they actually did a study to prove this, and it's true. And I think that's why Twitter has succeeded as it has, is because there's no extra stuff. It's just the text. And I'll admit, when I went to my undergraduate college 1,000 years ago, I took marketing classes, and I was told it's like anything but plain text. You've got to have an image or a graphic or visuals of some kind. That is no longer the case. A basic text post can generate more likes and comments and views than any other content. So look at this example. Just because it's text only doesn't mean that you can't get creative with the design. Now, please don't have 1,000 emojis going on. But we don't want to look like a 12-year-old messaging. But I think the use of X's here was an interesting choice, and I think it works. So this is a text-only post, but it makes me want to at least read through it. It's not really my my subject matter, so it's not that interesting, but see how that works. Another thing is that a lot of lawyers expect LinkedIn to be a one-way street, where they write something and they post it, and that's the end. And this is something that's kind of a weird thing to discuss because we're lawyers. We're not social media people. We can talk about statutes and case law and courts and procedure, and we're smart. But really, we have to get involved in our communities. And social media has become that involvement in a lot of ways, especially following COVID, where we're working on our computers 90% of the time anyway. This is our contact with the outside world, especially now. Hopefully for not that much longer, but for now, that's what we have. But if you don't get reciprocity, you won't get that continued engagement. So if you're having a lively discussion on your article, underneath your article, moderate it. Don't let it die. Keep your posts active as much as you can. Getting people to give their genuine opinion on subjects that you find interesting is a great way to have an important discussion. Yeah. So I'll let you take a look at this. Really, just the box. Again, you'll notice the use of a numbered list here. And in several of our classes, we recommend the use of a numbered list like this when you have a lot of items you need to discuss in contracts or other places. Um, I think that these are fantastic devices when you have this kind of information. But more importantly, is you see this invitation to discuss. He's giving his thoughts and then asking a question of his readers. Why? Maybe I'm assuming here, but maybe he really wants that feedback and differing viewpoints. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree that humans we like real conversations. Uh, it's it's like those telephone robots. You know, if you call a company and you go through the telephone robot where you hit 1 for this and 2 for that, nothing in the world is more frustrating than that. When you could just explain it to a real person quickly. So yes, try to keep it real. All right. Next tip: watch your frequency. And you know, LinkedIn, just like everything else, has an algorithm. Uh, I'm not going to begin to tell you how it works because it will probably change every hour. But I think it's important to look at who the big hitters of LinkedIn, the people with thousands and thousands of connections, those influencers. They never publish daily. So think of their pace. Maybe it's weekly. I think weekly is a good place to start. Uh, you know, as smart as you all are, uh, nobody wants to read our writing every day or even every week. Sometimes we have to give other people a chance to write too. Like I said earlier, a call to action is a key part of this. Um, without one, most people will just let your writing go and never think of it again, even if they liked it. Uh, so we want people to interact and we want them to spread it around. So I think if you're thinking about this, you'll look at every Facebook post, uh, every promotion you've ever seen has a call to action, uh, where maybe there's some kind of sweepstakes drawing where you have to like or share their post to enter. That's a call to action. Uh, Directly asking questions is a good one as well. You can refer them to other content on that platform or off of it. You can obviously send them directly to you or your law firm's homepage. Uh, one of the most annoying ones is when a website tells me to subscribe to their newsletter. Sometimes it's good. I like some of them. Sometimes it's less good, and and when you ask people to connect with them on other platforms, this just tries to get your message out and spread around to as many people as we can. Okay, so those are a few things to think about when you're going to start writing these things. Here are a few things that you should not do. Don't complain about your job or a former boss or colleagues, or don't complain on LinkedIn. I think we all know those people in our connections list that do this, and we all kind of roll our eyes whenever we see one of their posts. There's a time and a place to complain about our bosses and our jobs and our colleagues. It is not on LinkedIn. It is probably not on Facebook. Uh, it's probably not on Twitter. If you ask me, it would be at happy hour after the day is done. Uh, Writing down complaints about your boss or job is rarely a good idea. And even if you're trying to have a casual, quick post, make sure it looks good. Spelling mistakes are the real obvious things here. I would also complain about the all caps here, because why? Um, I mean, it's great to love your job, and if you want to make your boss happy, maybe you can post this, but at least make it look at least make it look like you're trying. Don't post things on LinkedIn that you should be posting on Facebook or Reddit. Um, I love baby lion cubs probably more than the next person, and baby animal videos are amazing. I won't I won't fight over it. I know I'm right, uh, but there's a time and a place. LinkedIn is not it. And obviously, I don't think you should be posting inappropriate things on any platform, but especially on LinkedIn. Those are it's a bad look, and it can really harm your future job prospects. It really can. You got to remember, all of this stuff is recorded somewhere. People can find it if they're looking. Um, I don't know. I've never gotten in a lot of trouble on Facebook or any platform. Uh, have any of you gotten in trouble on a social network? I won't say your name, I promise. Uh, During the last political election, I was the American presidential election, that is. I was a little bit afraid that I might get in trouble, but I was able to control myself and didn't say anything so inappropriate so as to get kicked off of Facebook. But I've known people that got in trouble, and on LinkedIn, it's even more so. Okay, so a lot of people, a lot of lawyers say, "Hey, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a writer. What do you want me to write about?" It's not so hard, um, but it is. I understand. I've always been a writer. Since I was a very young age, I was writing, and I continue to write. I find it therapeutic, and I love to do it. If you tell me to write a blog post, give me 30 minutes, I'll get it back to you. But a lot of people struggle with it. Struggle with the what what do we write? Where do I start? Because when we when we start from an uncertain place, we're not confident in our writing, and that's what we want to do. So here's a few ideas. One is to share client tips. Now, yes, like I said earlier, depending on your jurisdiction and the rules, the professional rules there, you want to avoid giving legal advice online. Uh, just just period. um, you can discuss legal concepts uh, with some general advice. Uh, you can give your audience tips about something that happened in a negotiation or a trial or whatever you're doing. Uh, like if you're a divorce attorney, you might want to discuss how they divide assets or mediate things. Uh, yes, it's good to be careful, but 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 it's okay to give general. I don't want to say the word advice, but discuss the law. Um, there's what is it? There's a YouTube channel. I think it's called Legal Eagles or something like this, and it's a lawyer who basically reviews movies and television programs uh, for how they portray the job of a lawyer and how they actually represent how the law works. It's kind of fun. I recommend it if you want to look into it. Uh, and this guy gives all kinds of advice about the law, but it's so general that it could never get you in trouble. Posting big news is another way that it's a good way to start your writing. Uh, you can act as that news source. And a lot of law firms and lawyers channels basically do that. Uh, it's amazing to me how traditional news has morphed into this online system. Uh, you can set up a Google alert for any time Something happens with in your area or your client or something, and it will pop up in your inbox the second something happens, and if you can break the news, makes you even better than the journalists. So here, you might want to think about a personal injury attorney who takes workers' comp cases. They might post news stories about how construction accidents or other company problems because of safety regulations. Opinion pieces. You can share your own opinion, thinking, analyzing that breaking news maybe. It can be politics, it can be, you have to be real careful because you don't want to alienate any large segments of the world. So if you get political or religious, that could cause real problems. Uh, there are a lot of opinions to have that are less controversial than that. Uh, I think we can all agree that baby cat videos are great and there should be more of them, but not on LinkedIn. Quotes. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. I hope it comes back. Um, as you might have noticed, I always use a quote in these classes. And I think that they're a fun and inspiring way to start a conversation. Uh, this takes a little bit of work, I agree, because you have to search it, but it's not that hard. Even though I struggled this week on this topic, I usually spend no more than a couple minutes. And for lawyers, we have so many situations where this works. We have judges and lawyers for hundreds of years saying inspiring quotes that make us feel good about being lawyers. So you can search for something that fits your specific needs on a specific day. Um, I like the idea of quotes. It's a good way to start writing if you're not comfortable. Polls are a great way to do this too. It's an automatic call to action. Um, now, I can't say that I've actually ever done this. I've responded to them all the time because I think these are kind of fun. They're a way to actually give your opinion when you respond to a poll without having to write it. It's like clicking like but a full opinion. It's a good thing to do if you're looking for another thing to write. A day in the life post. Uh, these can be fun. Uh, these are a way to show your clients or prospective clients or colleagues what it's like to work in your law firm. Now, your law firm, no matter how big or small it is, will be very careful with making sure that you portray it in the most professional way possible. And of course, this is very important. But you can say what a productive day for you is as a lawyer, with maybe some photos or a slideshow or an interesting way to present it. Yeah, excuse me. Okay, we only have a few slides left. I know I've been talking for a lot this session. I hope you'll forgive me. I tried to find exercises for this session, and I couldn't. I just couldn't. I don't think we have the time to do a full writing session to like write a blog post. There aren't enough rules to really get into it so much about fill in the blanks or anything. So I hope you're enjoying this, and I'll have some fun exercises next week. I hope. So I have just a couple real short examples of when law firms get this right. And I had a website with a long list of these, but I think I selected only two at the end of the day. So look at Norton Rose Fulbright. That's a big law firm, a global super firm. And take a look at what they've done. obviously they're not talking much about the law. They're talking about their firm. Uh, I'm missing a word in my brain right now. Their community of their firm. Uh, it's a beautiful photo. It's obviously like eye-catching, right? Uh, but what they've done is they've crowdsourced the employee to build their brand. Uh, and that's so that photo wasn't taken by a marketing person. It was taken by uh, an employee, whether it was a lawyer or an assistant or who knows. Um, but this is a great way for a firm to stand out from the others. I guess I wanted to talk about this as well too. Yeah, we're lawyers and we talk about the law all the time. Um, the people around us, the non-lawyers around us, find this sometimes to be annoying, I think. Um, but we don't always have to write about the docket or the contract. It's great to bring the law and our careers and our jobs in creative ways, in different forms. Uh, Talking just about the law is a little boring most of the time. Uh, but if we can bring in our lives and try to make it a little bit more exciting, that's great. Take a look at this one. This is DLA Piper, yet another global super firm. Okay, this is a really short post uh, with a commendation. Uh, they love doing this. They target their social media content to the right audience very well. Uh, this is a law firm that certainly where it's a selected few that could potentially be a client. So they're targeting people that focus on social responsibility and pro bono work, which tends to work better in Facebook, interestingly enough. Whereas on Twitter and LinkedIn, they focus on leadership posts. You know, it's a whole new science that we're walking into with social media and its psychology of it. All right, guys. Well, we're done a few minutes early. I'm afraid I didn't budget my time well, or I was simply talking too quickly. Uh, it's a curse I have. Um, I will stick around if you have any questions. But if not, go forth and prosper and continue being the brilliant lawyers that you are. Does anyone have any questions they would like to discuss while you have me? Oh, I got some questions. Hold on one second. Let me get there. Okay, let me start at the beginning. Okay. Is it advisable to share the same blog post across all social media? No, it's absolutely not. And we have to think about the different formats. Now, obviously, we can't post a longer post on Twitter. So we have to look at the impressions that we want to make. So no, absolutely not. It shouldn't look the same, and the vocabulary may shift based on your target audience. Let's see. Is there any such thing as overdoing it on social media? Absolutely. Um, and I said it earlier. I think if you start at one post per week on LinkedIn, one article or blog post per week, that's a good start. That's enough to let people remember who you are without being annoyed by who you are. So so I think once a week, no more than that. Once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending. If you're in the middle of a very exciting time, like during a political election or some kind of unrest or something like that, maybe more frequently. But on a normal boring week, do it once a week. As I hope I've answered your questions at least a little bit. Okay, guys, I will be taking off, and I will see you next week when we are talking about how to write a perfect legal letter, I believe. Maybe it's an email. I will hope to see you all there, and have a great rest of the week and weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.